couple of things I'm going to be talking about today. For those of you who know me, you know I'm slightly obsessed with AI. I've stopped apologizing for that, so you get used to it. My name is Clwyd. I'm the CEO of Whitehat. The formal name for Whitehat is Whitehat SCO Limited, which if you look at the world and how it's changing at the moment, you'll realize that we're changing the name to just Whitehat. The CEO bit, SCO bit is slightly less relevant in today's world, and that's one of the things that I'm going to be talking about. The other thing that's slightly confusing, and we better get it out of the way, is that you're going to hear me talk about different brands and different products, something called Marketing Mary, something called Helium-42, and these are new websites, new brands that we've put together based on what we've learnt and what we've built over the last 2 years. Marketing Mary is a product. Just hold that in your mind. We'll come back to it later. Helium-42 is a consultancy. So if you need help, some guidance to how to implement AI solutions within your organization, then we can do both of those things. But the vision for the Marketing Mary product is marketing agency results without the agency price, which is an interesting thing for a large agency to be standing up here and telling you. So here's the problem that most companies, in fact most small businesses particularly, face in terms of growth. How do they grow? How do they get bigger? How are they successful, and why do they fail? Well, the three things that we've learned over the years, the problems that they have are money, time, and experience. And this is demonstrably true. It's pretty obvious to me, and I think it resonates with pretty much everybody in the room. You don't have enough money. If you had an infinite budget, you could spend it on all these wonderful marketing campaigns, ad campaigns, organic campaigns, social media, all these different things. You could just go to town, but you also don't have the time. If you're a small business, everybody's pulling you in lots of different directions. You really don't know what you have to do, where you need to go. And even if you had the time and the money, you don't know enough to get the results that you really need. Everything is changing so fast, particularly in today's world, literally changing week by week, day by day. You have no idea. And this is the problem that businesses have faced. 80% of all businesses fail within the first 5 years. 50 to 80% of those businesses fail in the next 5 years. So we want to see if we can use AI to help provide a solution to that. So keep that in mind, as we'll come back to it slightly later. If you've heard me talk about AI in the past, you've heard me talk about almost futuristic visions of where we're going to be, what things are going to come down the pipe, how society is going to change. All of these things I still fundamentally believe are true and are going to impact both businesses and society. But today I'm going to be a bit more pragmatic. I'm going to be a bit more useful, if you like, to the people in the room, and we're going to look at some solutions. We're going to look at ways that people can learn about what's going on and can profit from it, can make money, can save some money. There's lots of different case studies that I could throw up. This one is really around customer support. The problem with AI, or the benefit of AI, depending on how you want to look at it, is that it is applicable across lots of different business units, lots of different areas. This is only one, customer support. Massive amounts of possibilities here. Improvement rates of 43%, increases in quality in the end results. And you're also seeing a lot of, these are the plus figures. You're also seeing some negatives coming in once people have started using these systems in practice because they haven't necessarily been implemented correctly. Klarna was a classic one, case study of early AI adoption where they touted that they were firing half of their support team. They've now reversed a lot of that decision, bringing some people back in. So you've got to do this carefully. It doesn't mean you shouldn't use AI, but you need to do it responsibly and you need to do it in the right way. This is an interestingly boring graph, but it actually comes across, it makes a really interesting point from Harvard Business School, I think, and can't remember, Ethan Mollick was the guy who was promoting this. It shows a study that they did looking at team use of AI tools, where they gave essentially a controlled study, no AI tools. They gave them some tasks to do. They gave the two other teams AIs. And the takeaway here is that the team that had no AI was outperformed. In fact, the team with AI on its own, or as an individual, sorry. Let me start that again. An individual with AI was outperforming the team. So you on your own, if you have an AI assistant, can do better than a whole team working together to try and outperform you. And obviously the team with AI does better than everybody else. So this is a takeaway. This is something that we should all learn, is that it can turbocharge, it can enhance, it can improve what you do, and it can help you do your job better. And one of the other things that came out of this, it wasn't actually up on this slide, but I'll mention it anyway, is that some of the work that they were giving to these people was split into technical and business. And by definition, a technical team tends to come up with technical solutions. They're very strong in that area. The business teams similarly would come through with very strong business proposals. But when you threw AI into the mix, the actual results tended to be a lot more balanced. So that the teams themselves produced results which were strong both on a technical and a business perspective, which is really, really interesting. What we're seeing, I think I gave my first AI talk just after ChatGPT was launched a couple of years ago, and we've seen some progressions in the marketplace since then. The initial reaction was to ignore it. A lot of noise, a lot of marketing hype, a lot of money being spent, but very little impact on day-to-day businesses. So many businesses deliberately stepped back and waited for something to happen. That's no longer the case. I think anybody that you talk to, from an individual entrepreneur all the way up to the enterprise level, is being told that AI has to be used within their organization. It has to be implemented, and sometimes it's being pushed without the proper support and training, or the compliance, or the policies in place. And that's where things can go wrong. But it is being used, and it is being pushed. So we're seeing this second step, the optimized step here. This is where people are currently using AI at the moment. If people could turn their phones off, that would be good. So this is where we're seeing it at the moment, where marketing teams in particular are looking at their current processes, what they do today, and they're not looking at changing that process, but they're trying to do it better, they're trying to do it faster, they're trying to do it in a more efficient way. And that allows a couple of different options. Potentially, it could lead to job losses. If they're successful, then maybe you only need a third of the people to do that job. And that's one route that companies are taking. We're starting to see some job losses coming through in the statistics, particularly in the tech sector. Microsoft is a case in point, over 6,000 people laid off in the last week. And Bloomberg is attributing that to AI usage and policies within the company. The other way of looking at this, and many companies are doing this as well, is that you keep the staff that you have and you can do more. You can deliver more services, more products. You can actually grow your business in a much more scalable way that you were never able to do in the past. And those forward-looking companies are trying to use AI as an accelerant, and I think that's one interesting thing. And then the final one, and this is where it gets really interesting, is that companies can start to use AI to deliver things that they could never do in the past. We worked with a TV production company recently where they were unable to deliver many different campaigns because they didn't have the staff, they didn't have the internal skills, they just weren't, they didn't have the scale to be able to take on some of these large contracts. AI now gives them that capability, and so they can leverage it to do even better or more innovative things that they didn't even think was possible. And if you think ChatGPT is AI, and you haven't really looked at what the world of AI has become over the last 2 years, I would ask you to look at the Google I/O conference that happened yesterday and look at some of the videos that are created and some of the work that's being done. Literally, you can prompt, you can create a video. Well, we all know we can sort of create videos from AI, and they're a bit rubbish, to be perfectly honest. But Google yesterday was showing full-form human speech, characters, consistency, editing, with sound, with lip sync, literally from a prompt. And if you think of that from a marketer's perspective, from a salesperson's perspective, the ability to create campaigns, the ability to create high-quality video was normally, you would go to an agency and you would pay £50,000, £60,000 to create these clips, these adverts. This is available at a prompt level now. There's a whole load of statistics around this. Again, it's changing very, very rapidly. 75% of people are using AI in the workplace. Another 75% of companies have no AI policy in place to manage that usage. That is an issue. It is a compliance issue. It is a data protection issue, GDPR, all these type of things. But it's happening. People are bringing their phones, their computers, their own usage in because they know it helps, and they're using it anyway. And that's a problem. So you need to step back as a company, you need to set policies in place, you need to set procedures in place, standard operating procedures, to allow the usage of this within your organization. IT needs to be involved, legal needs to be involved, senior management needs to be involved. We can't ignore this anymore. This is a map which is growing exponentially. The number of companies that are claiming to have AI built into their software. Often it's just a stamp that sits on top of something that existed for years. As you know, I'm both an advocate of HubSpot and one of its critics. I've been very critical of their AI work over the last few years. I think it's been very weak in terms of what the market is capable of delivering. But interestingly enough, my opinion is starting to change. They've doubled down and doubled down again in terms of their capabilities. And some of the AI tools within HubSpot are truly transformative, particularly around customer support. And if there's one area I would ask you to look into, it would be the chatbot tools that can now feed off internal data stores, knowledge bases, external information to provide high-level customer support. As individuals and as companies, we need to use AI to give ourselves a competitive advantage in the marketplace. If you can do that, if you can keep yourself up to speed, if you can keep yourself up to date, then you can become the leader in your own sphere, but also you can start to teach others. You can start to enable the company to deliver more. But the only way to do that is to listen and to learn and to maintain this knowledge journey all the way up from basic AI usage tools, understanding the limitations of these systems, what they can do, what they can't do, what they're good at, but also plan for what they're going to be good at. This is a common term that the AI that you have at the moment is the worst that this is ever going to be. That means that tomorrow it's going to get a lot better. Tomorrow it's going to get a lot better. The work that was launched by Google, I'm slightly dismissive of many of these companies over the years. Google, more than any of them, I've disparaged Google and talked down their AI capabilities. This is no longer the case. They are definitely one of the leading players in this space. They're throwing massive amounts of money and resources at it, and they're coming out with products and services and deliverables which are cutting edge. Tomorrow, My understanding is that Anthropic is one of the other players in this space, intend to launch the version 4 of their Claude product, which again, if you're generating computer code or if you're a creative writer, Claude is probably the best model out there at the moment, and it's about to get an awful lot better. So as a company, you need to keep up to speed, because if you don't, you're going to be left behind. Just a few of the things that we identify when we do consultancy and when we work with companies to look at areas where AI can have some impact. Again, step back from the simple ChatGPT, chatbot view of the world and think about what these things can do. They are thinking machines. Whether you consider them intelligent or not, that's semantics. The way I look at it is, are they useful? Can they actually get a job done for you? And in many ways, they're becoming more and more useful in terms of answering questions, working as guides, but as Nick mentioned, also as agentic. Their agentic ability is growing. Their ability to do something in the real world is changing and is becoming relevant. So just a few of the things that they can do: classifying, drafting, personalization, planning, researching. Notebook LM is a fantastic tool if you haven't come across it before. It's essentially it was built as a research tool. You can pump a whole lot of links in there, documents. It will summarize those things, but you can then question it. You can ask questions about that document collection. Could be YouTube videos, and you can push another button and it'll turn it into a podcast. Now, a podcast, you might think, well, that's a trivial thing to turn out, a serious business document. But it's not. It's actually two people discussing this entire data set in an entertaining way. And it's a great way of understanding something and to get some learning. So I would suggest you play around with that. Obviously, image generation is one of the strengths of these tools. But it's interesting to see the journey that OpenAI, specifically as the leaders in this space, document as their plan for the future and where things have been, where they are, and where they're going. So we started out with, if you look at this collection of circles, conversational AI is where we started. Everybody's familiar with ChatGPT, and there are multiple different chat systems out there. What came last year was reasoners. The 03, the 01, the 03 models, the latest version of Claude. These things do what's called inference time compute. And without being technical, it just means they think longer. So instead of you ask a question and it comes back with an answer, you ask a question and it thinks about it. And you can actually see this thought process in real time. It will talk about how it's going to answer your question. It'll think about how it's going to answer your question, and it will go off on a side route and it'll bring itself back and it'll go off on a different route. Why is that important? It's because how we think and how we come to conclusions is exactly this. If I asked you a quick maths question, you could probably answer it or maybe not. But if I asked you to think deeply about a new marketing campaign or a new sales campaign, or you want to go into this particular client that is really interesting, you're not going to answer me in 2 seconds. We're going to have a conversation about that. It's going to be a strategy. You might go away and write some notes. You might come back. You might do some research. You might come back. This might take you as a salesperson or as a marketer many days to put together a plan. And this is where these models are moving and what they can do now. The combination of something called deep research, where they can literally crawl hundreds of different websites while you wait, and they can summarize that information. And the reasoning model lets them go over that information and decide tactics and strategy is really, really powerful. So this is one of the areas that marketers and salespeople can use these things, and they're not being used at the moment. So for example, if you have a paid version, who has a paid version of one of these systems that they actually pay a subscription, right? So good percentage. ChatGPT, the paid version, you go to the 03 model. There's like 500 different models to choose from. It's very confusing. Nobody has a clue what they all mean. Choose the 03 model. This is their top of the line model. and give it your business plan. Give it your marketing strategy. Give it the client website that you want to talk about. Give it as much information as you can. Give it context. This is what I'm saying. You can then tell it what you want to discuss. What's the initial outreach to this client? What's the best approach? What's the pricing strategy? What are the pain points? What are the pushbacks I'm going to get when I have a conversation? And have a conversation with this tool about that particular problem that you've got. It's a powerful agent that knows a lot about a lot of different things, and you can leverage that. And one of the ways I see this is you as an enterprise often have this capability. You've got a team, you've got people who work with you, but the smaller those companies get down to the medium size and the individual companies, you don't have that luxury. You don't have a team, you don't have people you can bounce ideas off. These systems give you that. So it democratizes knowledge and experience. So one of those things that we mentioned before is I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know what to do. I need some guidance, I need some help. That's where AI can step in. I genuinely use this myself regularly, and I've been a marketer for 20, 25 years, and it knows most of the things way beyond my level of experience and knowledge. And sometimes you just need somebody to bounce ideas off. As I mentioned, video is changing dramatically. I mean, this is a clip from about a year ago. Now we've got full-on human faces, voice, lip sync, sound effects, just from a prompt. What's actually coming through, it's the models themselves are getting smarter, but that's kind of not the point. They're smart enough. They actually don't need to get much smarter to be disruptive in the business space. So there's a couple of areas where we're seeing this. One is code. So code creation, if you're a programmer. I used to be a programmer back in the day, so I kind of know this stuff, but I'm way out of date. I have no idea what all the modern platforms and tech stacks are all about, but I can use these models to bring myself up to speed, and they can generate code for me that is production ready and is stable and scalable. And these systems can write large amounts of code. OpenAI released something called Codex a few days ago. Google announced something yesterday, a coding agent, and I suspect Anthropic are going to do the same thing tomorrow. Here's an example of deep research. It's something that we put together actually for someone in the room a while ago. I got a call. Is Dale here? Where is he? Dale phoned me up and said, Clwyd, look, we've got this potential client. I need you to do some background research for me on it. Can you do your AI magic thing? I only need it, ASAP. So if you could just get that over to me, because I'm going into a meeting in a couple of hours. I need a briefing document, and this is what we created for him, literally within 2 hours. The AI did a background check on that company. It did a market analysis on that company. It looked at how that company could open up a new market in terms of the legal issues around a new country. It did a SWOT analysis and a competitor analysis, and graphs and illustrations and full citations were created, and I turned that into a PDF. Now, that would have taken a Deloitte analyst the best part of a couple of weeks to put together, and you would have been charged 10 grand, something for a report of that quality. Anybody can do this now. If you want help or advice on your company, on market penetration, on SWOT analysis, these are things that big companies talk about. Now small companies have got access to these tools as well. It's now become almost trivial to provide this level of knowledge and this level of expertise. Coding, as I mentioned, we're building internal codes systems for our own use, which automate a lot of the things that we do. At the moment, you kind of do need to be a techie geek like me to be able to get your head around some of this stuff, but that is changing really, really fast. Very soon, you're going to have to have no technical ability. You're going to have the idea for an application. These things are going to be able to spin one up for you, and you'll be able to publish it within a few days. Where are we going? If you look at the labs themselves, they're saying that they're trying to build something called AGI, artificial general intelligence, the intelligence of an average human. There's a lot of philosophical questions around that. Again, I step back and say, it's not the point. What I'm interested in is what these systems can do. Are they consistent? Are they of quality? So we don't need to reach AGI to radically transform society or business. In fact, if everything stopped today, the repercussions of what we have now are going to flow through for the next 5 to 10 years, and society is going to be a different place, even if nothing changes. It's a plumbing matter, it's a technology matter to get this stuff out into the workplace. It's not a science anymore. We don't have to invent anything new. There's just a lot of friction in the marketplace. I mean, you know what it's like within the finance system. Just because something new and shiny has been invented, it doesn't mean it's going to be implemented tomorrow. It's going to take a while. So let's go back to these three things. And let's take a particularly knowledgeable or common sales problem that anybody has, and let's see how we can solve them with this. Cold outreach is something that every company has to do at some point at scale, and it's often done with email campaigns. You have to send thousands of emails out, or if you're in a much more focused world, you're doing account-based marketing, you take a small subset and you go after a few people or a few companies, and you put all of your effort into that. So mass market or highly focused. But either way, you have to do research, you have to do lead scoring, as we've mentioned in the attribution talk. You need to in some way personalize those email outreaches, and then you need to integrate that into your system of record, your CRM system. This is a classic problem that has been around for many, many years. And the way that traditionally this is done, if you're a salesperson, you would go to the prospect's website, you would figure out what they do, you have to match that to your own business, the products and services that you sell. You then maybe, you've got a meeting, you've got a call with somebody, you go to their LinkedIn profile. What is their personality? What is their job title? What is their skill level? What is their history? You need to get inside that person's head. And once you've done all of that, you feel comfortable writing them an email or picking up the phone and actually having a conversation. Or if you're using something like HubSpot's sequencing tools, you'd maybe create a sequence of emails and follow-ups and messages that you're going to leave. Now, old school salespeople doing it properly, maybe 45 minutes, an hour to put all of that together. It takes a while, but you get paid because you're successful at that. You put a lot of time and effort into it. You've got a really good view of how that person works and fits, and what's the pitch, what's the sales message that you're going to do. But it's still an hour of your time. And you've got one person that you've got comfortable that you can actually have a conversation with. What you can do now is you can take ChatGPT, Clwyd, one of these other systems, and you can dump all of that information into the AI. And you can ask it to summarize, and you can ask it to personalize, and you can actually ask it to analyze down to the persona level of that person. You can give it a lot of information about your company, what it is you do, the products and services that you provide, and you can get it to match those two things together. And you can get an email sequence or a LinkedIn outreach message or even a voice message that you can leave on somebody's phone. And that is how you can use AI to save your time and save your money. And that 45 minutes goes down to 15. It hasn't gone away. It's not an automated thing, but it saved you a massive amount of time. So an hour, 45 minutes down to 15. You can do 3 times, you can do 4 times as much work. And the quality is honestly better because it can read all of that stuff that you really are not going to read. And it can find the nuances and it can find the match. So this is just using the tools out of the box as they are now, you don't need to be a rocket scientist. This is cut and paste. What's the next level up from that is scale. Well, if you can do that for one person, why can't you do it for 100? Why can't you do it for 1,000? And of course we can. This is one of the tools that we've been building. We're working with our partners to actually automate this. Is if you've got a contact's email address, you've got his LinkedIn profile, the AI can go off and read that information. It can make a match. You can give it information on your company, your products, your services, and it can create a spreadsheet or a HubSpot record with all of that information in, and it can create a 5-email sequence, an 8-email sequence, which will lead that person through their buyer's journey from awareness, they've never heard of you, who is this person who's emailing me, why doesn't he just go away, all the way to, oh my God, he actually knows what my problems are, this actually might be, maybe I don't hit the delete and the block, all the way through, and I really should give him a call. Yeah? And you can take them through that journey and you can personalize it. It is not perfect yet. There is a lot of work to get this up and going. There is nothing out of the box that does this, and this is one of the things that we're building with clients at the moment. So you can go from 1 to 1,000 or to 10,000, and suddenly you can do this at scale. So conversion rates of email campaigns are very low. They have been for years, but we can double that. We can get an 80% uptick in open rates and conversion rates using this methodology. It's still low. You still have to send out thousands of emails, but it's considerably better than what was before. So that's one way you can save some money. Time saving, improved targeting, all of these different things. I'll show you another one, which is a play on this, but it takes it back a step, and is interestingly, it only sort of occurred to us after the fact, is that think about HubSpot. Now, we sell HubSpot licenses. We work with HubSpot for years. One of the negatives that always comes our way when a new client finds out about HubSpot, they say, well, it's a wonderful platform. It's easy to use. It's rich in functionality. They've built a ton of stuff into it. And yeah, okay, I can just about afford the professional level package, right? However much it is, £800 a month, something like that. The salesman sells them the software, fantastic, we're going to get started, but you need to import your contacts into the system. How many contacts have you got? Well, we've got 20,000 contacts. Oh, 20,000, well, that's going to take you up another tier, isn't it? Right, that's so instead of £800 a month, you're now in the thousands of pounds a month. Oh, we've got 50,000, we've got 100,000 contacts. We've got 250,000. I've got clients with over 500,000 contacts in their HubSpot databases that they don't do anything with. But they are paying thousands and thousands of pounds a month for the privilege of holding them in the HubSpot system. Now, those contacts are marked as marketing contacts. You get paid for them, because if you market to them, then you're using the HubSpot system. That's how they charge you for it. But you can flip that flag. You can turn that marketing contact flag off. So you can dump in your 250,000 contacts and turn them all off in terms of marketing contacts. Okay, that's fine, but then I can't email anybody, and it's completely useless. So what's the point of that? Couldn't you use an AI system to tell you which are your most important contacts? To do that analysis that I've just said, to crawl their websites, to look at their personalities, to do a match, a best fit analysis, and to say, this is the top 10%, this is the top 20%. We're going to mark those as marketing contacts. And the rest we're going to keep on the database. If they come to the website, we can track them, all those other good things. We're not throwing away that data, but we'll just keep them. And then next month, we'll run the process again. And if the world changes, then again, you bring the best ones floating to the top. So that is something where we could potentially save you thousands of pounds a month just by doing lead scoring, effective lead scoring, real-time lead scoring, if you like. Well, real-time every month. HubSpot will hate this because it's going to hurt their revenue, right? because they obviously want the money to come in from charging you for those contacts. But my feeling is they'll get more business because more people will start to use HubSpot because it'll be more effective and they'll get more clients out of it. It's just an idea, and it's one of the things that we're building. Again, I mentioned the Helium 42 site where we do consultancy, where we build products like this out for our clients, and that's kind of one of the things that we're going to do. So let me jump back to the Marketing Mary. What's the vision of Marketing Mary? Better, faster, cheaper marketing with AI. There's about 10,000 HubSpot agencies globally. I've made this prediction before. It's probably going to come and haunt me, but I think within 3 to 5 years, that number is going to get decimated. I think the number of agencies is going to fall dramatically. And the reason is not so much that everything is going to be displaced by AI, but the mix is going to change, is that the marketers within companies are going to be able to do more, and they're going to have less need for an agency to help them. The AIs are going to be there to help them. So in many ways, I think my own agency and others like us have a limited lifespan. So having said that, how do we survive? We have to evolve like everybody else. We want to build something that people can use. So one, we can help those companies make that change. That's where the consultancy side of it comes in. And secondly, we can build the products to allow them to do that themselves as well. So an average engagement for us, we maybe charge £5,000–6,000 a month to run a marketing campaign. That's pretty average for the industry. Our goal is to offer the Marketing Mary product at 1/10 of that, and to be able to do more than we do currently within our marketing agency for that price. Better, faster, cheaper. We won't get that in day one. We have a plan, we have a rollout, we have a product scheduled, but our goal is to build out everything we do as an agency effectively should be replicable using an AI system. And one of the things I did promise, if you've picked it up on the email, you can sign up for early access to this system at the moment, and people who are here today will get preferential treatment and access to that. And we will have a free version of this as well. So this isn't enterprise type pitch. This is small and medium-sized businesses. I'm a passionate believer in that there's not enough done for small businesses. And I think we can give enterprise level support and services down to the SMEs. So the goal is essentially it's going to do everything: content creation, social media, emails, LinkedIn, paid ads, intelligent chatbots, all of these different things. The vision, when I presented this actually to HubSpot 2 years ago, I don't think they really understood what I meant. I showed them the new front end to the system. Essentially, you type in your company URL, you give it a budget, and you hit go, and that was it. And the system should, in theory, be able to do everything. It should be able to infer your products and services, figure out your buyer personas, your market, all of these different things, and then it should be able to run and execute marketing campaigns just with that. It's got a strategy engine built into it, an execution suite, and it's got a lot of proprietary knowledge. This is why it doesn't work by just cutting and pasting into ChatGPT, and this is why it doesn't work within HubSpot. Now, one of the criticisms of HubSpot that I think is still valid is that HubSpot is a marketing platform that knows quite a lot about your customers based on their interactions with your website and your emails and everything else. It builds up this statistical knowledge of interactions. But strangely enough, it doesn't know much about you or your business or your products or your services. The amount of information that you can pump into it about those things is severely limited. When we engage with a company, we still do, and did in the past, run workshops, and those workshops can be spanned over several weeks, where we would go deep into an analysis with that company. We would build out the buyer personas, their buyer's journeys, the pains and goals that those people have, And that gives you a massive amount of documentation about the company, what its products are, what its target market is, and the buyer's journey, the steps that they take before they decide to buy from you. There is nowhere to put that in HubSpot, or at least there is a trivial amount of places where you can put that. So if HubSpot, you have a button that says AI generate a blog post for me, how is it supposed to do that? How is it supposed to know what really should be in that blog post? The blog post should be targeted at a buyer persona, a particular point of the buyer's journey, hitting a particular pain point, based on certain keyword research, based on all of those different things. HubSpot doesn't have that. It can't have that. It's a platform it presumes that you've got a marketing agency or an experienced marketing team running the HubSpot platform. Yeah? It presumes that you've got help, and it's just the software that will deliver. We think the AI could take away that need for, like as I said, for the agency, or at least to act as a guide to give the marketers a leg up so that they can actually do this stuff without the entire team. So that's kind of where we're going. We strangely enough, before ChatGPT was released, we went through an exercise internally where we documented what we did as an agency in a lot of detail. We took a lot of time building out standard operating procedures to explain to ourselves what we did so that we could be more consistent and improve the quality of our deliverables. And that has been invaluable in then feeding it back into these systems. So you can leverage off all of that knowledge and work. The system will know that now out of the box, which obviously ChatGPT doesn't have. It doesn't know. It's a super bright intern, but it doesn't have that proprietary knowledge, and it doesn't know about you and your business, which we can put into it as well. So that's kind of where we're going. It's an interesting journey. Lots of people were very skeptical when we started this plan, but I think it's playing out. We're going to be planning towards a quarterly release, so we'll have an MVQ, MVP, minimal viable product, which will be absolutely terrible, I'm sure, and it'll break, which means it's good to get it out there and people can play with it. And then we will improve it, and we will add functionality, and we will build it out quarter on quarter, and we'd love to have you as part of that. And as I said, if you're interested in consulting, if you work within an organization that believes that could be impacted or helped by AI, then we're happy to talk to you. We work with HubSpot, we work with Salesforce, we work with any particular platform. We are agnostic in that space, which is interesting. Just as an example, there's a free tool that actually Peter, who's over from Germany today, has built out to give you an example of what the AI system can do. If you go to the Helium site and go to the resources section, you'll see the section called AI Marketing Strategy. You fill in your details, and it will do all that research for you. It'll look at your website, it'll crawl your website, it'll give you an opinion on where you should be focused and on what it thinks are good touch points. It'll give you some taste out of what an AI thinks you should be up to. It's a useful exercise for any company to put their website in here. I've seen companies and CEOs and marketers explain to me what they do, explain to me what their value proposition is, and I look at their website and it doesn't match what they've said, right? And it's very difficult sometimes to explain that to a CEO because he has a vision and this is how it's going to be. But if you have an impersonal AI crawling the site and reflecting this back, this is what the world sees, and you can talk to the senior management in a very open way to say, look, this is an assessment of the site. Yeah, listen to me. This is, if it's not getting the message right, then maybe we should change the message. Maybe we should modify it. So it's a sanity check for your own website, and we're going to build out a number of tools like this and others that are going to be completely free to use. They're not, if you fill it in now, it will take your details happily. It's not an instant thing because we've got a human in the loop who sanity checks things before they go out, because sometimes you just have to do that. AIs are wonderful things, but sometimes they make things up. So we want to make sure that it's not making things up, and what goes out it makes some sense. This is an example of a deck that it puts together. Right? Just as an idea, just something to think about as well, because we've been looking at branding. How do you create images using ChatGPT, right? It's a really good at image generation, but it's not consistent, and it's fine if you're just throwing together a blog post that you don't think anybody's going to see, but if you are concerned with quality, and if you're concerned with brand messaging and consistency, then it's hard to get that right. And one of the things that we've put together is a way of teaching an AI system about your brand, about your color schemes, about the fonts that you use, about the persona that you're targeting. And that's a massive document that we can then feed into this system so that when you ask it for a social media post or a blog post illustration, it's on brand. And that is significant, and it's one of the things, again, that you can use AI to. So hopefully that was useful. It's got some practical things in there. I'd love to get some people to be signed up to play with the Marketing Mary system. We intend to have it out end of June. Peter keeps telling me it's beginning of June, but I keep pushing it. It's the end of June. And we just want to help people and get some feedback on that. So hopefully that's useful, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you. Any questions on any of that, or AI generally, or anything at all?
Can we put our competitors to have a look at that?
Go for it. Yeah. Yes.
I was really interested in when you were looking at inputting the data and then writing personalised emails. But then at some point you also said there needs to be a human check. So how could you scale to a 100,000 database while still implementing that human check?
Yeah, you can't. Well, you can't put a human in the loop to check that. What you can do is that you can put an AI in the loop to check it, strangely enough. You can also run through a whole load of examples and then give them back to a CEO to review them, which is what we did for Taylor at one point. Because our first cut of this, interesting enough, it worked, but it came back as quite formulaic, American English, all of these different things, and not very personal. So to have somebody give some actual criticism back, you then, I'll repeat the question. The question is, how do you keep a human in the loop if there's 10,000 records in there? So you have a human reviewing that process. We then gave that review to the AI and said, this is the feedback. Change the prompt, change the strategy so that the emails match what this particular person wants. You then run it again, you ask it to check to see whether it has matched that. You rinse and repeat. But at the end of the day, you have to take a risk. So you have to, it's a leap of faith that says, okay, it might very well say something completely stupid, because if we're sending up 5,000 emails with an 8 email sequence, that's 80,000 emails. Nobody's going to be checking those. It's a very real problem. One of our clients is a big insurance company, and we were talking to them about AI and was explaining all these different things, and they said, oh, that's great. And I explained the email outreach system, and they said, well, we're going to have to pass it by compliance. And it's like, okay, what does that mean? He said, well, every email has to go through compliance. I said, no, it's not. No compliance officer is going to read that. So that was just something that's in today's world, in the compliance constrained world of a managed organization like that, that's not viable. It's not going to happen. So there are limits. But again, if you're a small business, you can take risks. You can push those limits, and you can go a bit faster than others. And I think that gives you an advantage over those corporates who have a lot of friction in their space. So I think that's a good thing for small businesses. These computers are some of the biggest computer systems that have ever been built, and you've got access to them for £20 a month. And people are not using that capability, and they should be. Yes. Any other questions? Yes.
What other sort of tool would you recommend people get set up with? Like, is it Microsoft or Google or Notion? And would you expect HubSpot and that other tool to be able to talk to each other?
Yeah, it's changing so rapidly. The question is all about tools. Which tools do we recommend? I think one of the things, I was thinking about this morning because we get asked quite a lot. Companies are going to have to put together an AI stack in the same way that they currently put together a tech stack or an application stack, right? And those things are going to need approval. They're going to have to go through policy review. They're going to go through compliance, GDPR rules, and all of that. If you'd asked me that question a few months ago, I would have said Claude from Anthropic is a fantastic tool for, like I said, doing content creation. Gemini, I would have said ignore it. It was not really a player. And ChatGPT had the good logic. Now, Gemini is super powerful if you've got very large documents. So it has what's called a million context window. Approximately a token is a word about that sort of size. So you can put 1 million words into the system. So if you've got large legal documents, large planning documents, it can take them all in one gulp. However, if you're coding, then there's a number of different programs that you can use which are different, which actually use the different ones together. We actually use all of them together. So when I'm coding, I will use Claude as a programmer, and I'll get Gemini as a review analyst to review the code that one has produced. And you can do that. You can get some content written by one, and you can get it criticized by the other. And that's where you get feedback. They're very good at reviews and feedback. So you just get them, essentially, at the moment, it's a matter of cut and paste. So we subscribe to them all. But if you had to choose one, ChatGPT is probably fine. It's good. But if you have large documents, I would go with Google. But if you want quality writing, I'd use Claude. So that doesn't really answer your question, but it shows you what's sort of out there. And the image stuff is changing as super, super fast. Yes, any other questions? Question at the back.
What's your feelings on HubSpot's Breeze AI and where it's headed compared to?
Yeah. The question is Breeze AI, and which is HubSpot's AI tool. It's a difficult thing to pin down because it covers multiple different pieces of functionality across the whole product suite. Up till their more recent releases, I would say it's almost, I wouldn't say irrelevant, but it's not really cutting edge. It's not really useful to do planning or anything else. It's useful for doing like meta descriptions and quick images and this type of thing. So it's almost trivial in terms of its usage. They're trying to get you to pay for subscriptions for knowledge enrichment. So you buy credits and these type of things to do that. They purchased a company that does that. So that's interesting if you're a large corporate. I think the one thing I would say HubSpot has that is a bit of a sleeping giant is their service hub. And we've previously built functionality on top of it because we thought it was weak. But now it's able to read your knowledge base. It's able to read your blog posts. You can give it custom documents. So it suddenly becomes a useful support agent. And if that's done right, it allows a company to scale. So I think if you had to pick one thing within HubSpot, the other thing is they're changing it rapidly. There's the Inbound conference in San Francisco in September. If you get a chance, go to that. It's going to be fantastic. But we've been asked to work actually with the HubSpot's product team on the AI side. And what that actually means, I don't know yet. I've got a meeting with them next month. But we're going to be advising and talking to them about their AI product roadmap. And I'm probably going to be in a better position to answer that question after that meeting, probably towards the end of the year. So interesting times, I think. Yes, Edwin.
How are you storing your data, like your knowledge base?
In a HubSpot world, there are multiple, like if you talked about the chat support type system like that, there are multiple different data stores. So the knowledge base itself is stored within the HubSpot database structure. That is stored either in the US or in Europe, depending on where you sign up. And that is all, it's moving up to HIPAA compliance, storage levels and everything else, and that's fine. In terms of documents that you add, again, that gets kept within the ecosystem, so it's within that, and that's a RAG type database storage system. Beyond that, it remains to be seen, because if you give it access to external documents, it's not clear whether it's bringing those in each time, in which case you need to be cognizant of security issues of where they're stored. So that's something to look into if you're looking at implementing it at a large scale. Yeah. Okay. Let's wind it up. Hopefully this has been useful for everybody. If anybody wants to talk, we're always available. And the next actual physical event is probably going to be October, but obviously we'll let you know all about that. Thank you so much.